Hi all. Today I would like to prepare a React project in a professional way. Recently I wrote a blog post about the most popular React tech stack, which covered different React libraries like Next.js or style components, tools like Prettier, ESLint, TypeScript, and also testing tools like Jest, React testing library, Cypress, and Storybook. Today I would like to set up a new project, which is used for a course of mine that I'm creating now. The goal is to develop this application. I prepared some designs. It's not like totally finished until now, but this is an error tracking tool. The goal is to set it up in a professional way, like you would see it in a real work environment. So we have a UI kit here with different components and a theme with different typography styles and colors. And then you have the designs here for the applications. Yeah, so now I want to set up the project, especially with tools like Prettier, ESLint, TypeScript, and also prepare the testing setup. So yeah, as I said, we will use Next.js. Let's see how that works. I guess I mentioned it somewhere here. Okay, so let's set up the Next.js app. I would like to use TypeScript, so I will use this npx create next app command with a TypeScript flag and -- TypeScript. This is really handy because then everything is already installed and set up with TypeScript. Okay, let's open the code. Perfect. So now you can see that we have a tsconfig file here already. Yeah, the Next.js project. The pages project contains the pages folder contains the components. So if you're not familiar with Next.js, every file that's in the pages folder, except the ones with a underscore at the beginning, will create one page. So if I, for example, create a new file called test.tsx, we will now have a file, and let's create it like this. We will now have a page called test. So let's run the application, npm run dev. Okay, localhost. Okay, so this is the home page, and now at test we should see the same. Perfect. Okay, let's get rid of that for now. So now we have Next.js set up with TypeScript. The next step would be for me to use ESLint as well. We have an ESLint RC here already, but I would like to use the ESLint recommended option. Let's see the docs. So get started. The docs are always a great start, a great point to start. We already have ESLint installed, I suppose. So yeah, here it is, ESLint. Now the configuration, I don't really want to have custom rules. I really don't care if how exactly these rules look like, but for me it's important to adhere to some common style. So we have next core web vitals. Okay, let's keep using that. And let's copy this one as well. I hope this works. Okay. Now, for example, if I write const a equals b, yes, I get a warning that a is not declared. This is an ESLint warning. And if I would remove this again, there's no warning. So with this ESLint's rules, we have a bit of a stricter rule set. And I think this is quite nice to keep your code clean. Okay, so ESLint seems to be working. Let's see if there is some lint. Yeah, so we have a lint command here. So actually, if we again add this here and we run npm run lint, we should get an error. Yeah, perfect. So this npm run lint is a typical command that you would run in the continuous integration pipelines. This works like you host your code on GitHub in a team, and then you create a pull request, which like to merge your code to the main branch. And inside this pull request, the continuous integration scripts will run. And typically npm run lint is one of these scripts. So it will check the code for common errors, like this one, for example. And if it finds errors, it won't let you merge the pull request. So you always have to have some kind of code style, and you will have to pass some checks of ESLint to be able to merge code into the main branch. This is really practical to keep code quality high and also prevent bugs. Okay, so ESLint is set up. Now the second one that I would like to use is Prettier. Prettier is really nice because it will help you format code. So it's not like ESLint. ESLint catches bugs like this, or that's not technically a bug, but like not really very nice. But it would catch a bug like this. Now Prettier is more about the appearance of the code, which is quite handy if you work in a team, and you can imagine if there are 10 developers who all like have different styles of coding and indentation, this will be really hard to read in the end. And if you use a code formatting tool like Prettier, then everything looks like it has been developed by one developer. So it's really easy to read and really like easier to maintain. So let's see, I added a link here. Okay, so this is Next and Prettier. So let's install the ESLint config for Prettier. Okay, and then we can add Prettier to the ESLint config here. I'm not sure if I have to restart my project or not, but let's see. Okay, so currently Prettier doesn't kick in yet. Probably have to restart the project. Maybe also the whole code environment. What we can do is open the settings, and now search for format. This is VS Code, by the way. So what I like to do is format on save, and then there should be an option to also select the formatter. Yeah, so let's see, here it's Prettier. So this now makes it really handy. let's see if something changes here. Yeah, you can see immediately that there's a certain style. Also, if I have this like an indentation problem, yeah, perfect. We can again let this run in the CI pipelines. Let me check quickly. As I said, documentation is a really good place to start usually. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for Prettier and CLI. I'm not sure if Prettier is installed actually. It's just the Prettier config probably. So in the end, let's see. Let's quickly turn off format on save. Now introduce an error, and if we run, this probably won't work. So just for now we can try this. Okay, let's install Prettier. And as you can see, there are a lot of warnings actually. So here, oh yeah. So you can see that Next.js has a different style. Here we use double quotes and a semicolon. We can run Prettier right, I guess. Format file in place, use right. Okay. So what we can do just to fix everything here is, I hope, dot and wait, this doesn't look nice. Okay. But shouldn't be a problem, I hope, as this is not committed. So yeah, here you can see some styles changed. Okay, perfect. Let's see. First we'll commit this as sets up ESLint, and then the rest sets up Prettier and formats code. Reformats code. Okay. Cool. So now we use ESLint, we use Prettier. Style components. Style components is a really nice library. If you want to write custom styles, also a lot of component libraries like Material UI, for example, they also you can also use style components to customize styles. But for this designs, we didn't use Material UI or any other component library. So this is a fairly typical situation that the designer actually doesn't adhere to a component library. So it will be kind of tough to customize the component library to a scale that it actually fits the designs. Some designers also use Material UI for the designs. Then it's really easy to use a component library, and it has some benefits because you just can get stuff faster off the ground. But in our case, we use style components. It's also nice for a course because then you are forced to really write your own CSS and not use a component library. So Next.js and style components. I know it's not natively supported. No, not this one. But we should have something in the documentation here of Next.js. Let's see. Can't really see it. Styled components, supported features, Next.js compiler. Okay, so source support. You can see that. Okay, CSS and JS. Perfect. Here's an example for style components. Let's see. So it looks like we only need to add style components here. Compiler style components true, okay. Looks like that's it. Let's try it out. So first we add npm a style components, and then in the Next.js config we use compiler style components. Let's restart just to be sure. Okay, you can see that I'm also not adhering to the Prettier style, but it doesn't really matter because if we again enable auto formatting, format on save. Yeah. Okay, so let's try to refactor some styles to styled components. I want to have the container here as a style component, so I will call it container equals style.div. And let's see what these styles look like. Oh, that's not it. Let's collapse this again. Home module CSS. I'm not really a big fan of this grouping files by file type, because now you can see like the styles are quite far away from the actual component. So styles container just has a padding. Let's remove it from here. Let's check first how it looks like. Okay, padding. Prettier also takes care of the indentation here, which is nice. Could not find. Okay, so we don't have types for style components. Interesting. Perfect. So this happens from time to time, that when packages don't really don't support the types or TypeScript natively, then you have set to install types separately, as I did here. Now the error's gone, So let's continue with the application. The app is still running, so let's see. This is our container now, and let's see if it changes. We should remove this one here. Container. Okay. We also need the closing tag. Oh, yeah, looks the same. Perfect. So we can remove this completely. And now the next steps would be to replace all this code here, the CSS, with style components. I like site components a lot because once it's pretty descriptive. So for example, you can see here, this is container. Before it was a div with a class name container. And if you have a lot of divs, like this one could be called grid, it's much more descriptive. You also have the ability to style depending on props. So for example, let's make this theme equals dark just for testing purposes. And now if we have then we can return something like background black. Yeah. So if we now call it light, it's the default background. It's pretty handy. You can also, you should actually create types for this. So here it's theme. So this is now typed. Should be typed. Seems like it isn't. I would have to dig deeper into this. This is a TSX file, okay. Type container props. So this should actually work. I'm not sure why it doesn't. Okay, whatever. So let's get back. Style components is working. So let's create a commit. Style components. And now I would like to get into testing. Yeah, tests are always a bit tricky, especially junior developers don't really know how to test often. And it can be really annoying, honestly. Like if you start testing with React testing library, it's like developing in a new environment. You don't really know how to debug things, and yeah, it's just tough. It takes forever to write the first tests. I think Cypress, even though it's maybe not that commonly used and has a different use case, of course, it is a bit easier to get started with because it has really nice tooling around testing. So let's have a look at Cypress. Maybe even Cypress and Next. No, this is not it. Next.js testing. And let's also go to cypress.io. So here you can see a small video.
testing the various login states.
And this is what I'm talking about. You have a UI where you can actually watch the test. Like here, the test fills out the form. It's pretty quick, but you can see it here.
Login states of your application, or complex drag and drop operations that you
and you can, similarly to Redux, you can also step through each step of the test. So let's see how we can set it up. npx create, okay, example with JSON manual setup. Yeah. Okay. Let's install Cypress. Can add a new command to package a JSON. I'm not sure what happened here. I was a bit too quick. So let's see how again do I let's do this manually. Okay, so now we have Cypress open and we also have Cypress here installed in the dev dependencies. Now, when we run Cypress for the first time, we'll do some setup. We'll install some folders here. Let's see. So we can continue reading already. This is an example for our first integration test. So we have a component. We already have a home component here. This one we saw before. And here they test a link. Okay. Here we have a test. I'm not sure what this does actually, but we can run it once and see what happens. It's trying to open Chrome. Not sure where my Chrome is. But yeah, here it is. Okay, so this is just an example test. Not really important for now. Let's check out what happened here. So you can see we 27 files created, a lot of example stuff, which we can remove, I guess. So fixtures, it's just like fixtures contains mock data that you would like to use. Let's remove it. Integration tests, okay. We don't need this. And also remove this folder. Now plugins, this will stay. And support, yeah, we can add custom commands here. Like for example, a login command where you do a certain API calls and then you expect the user to be logged in. This comes in like, it's like shortcuts in the end. Okay, let's write our first integration test. Actually, Cypress calls it integration tests, but yeah, mostly I would say it's end-to-end tests. integration test is more what you write with React testing library, but whatever. So let's say, let's call it as here spec.js, and then describe homepage. So describe this just a wrapper around our test to better identify it later on. Now this is, no, sorry. This is what our test does. So it's the actual test description. Let's see, I will first finish here the skeleton. Okay, it is not defined. This is an ESLint error, and I guess we need to add something, some configuration to tell ESLint that these global functions exist. Probably it's this ESLint plugin, Cypress. So this is the Cypress running, so create a new one. And now plugins Cypress. ESLint, where's ESLint? Here. Plugin Cypress. Okay, now I hope this will resolve. You can add rules. Okay, and let's also try this one here. Ah, perfect. This was it. Okay, cool. So let's head back to our application. I'm not sure where it is. Testing here. So what do we have? This is a bit hard to test, but what we can test first is if we have this text on the page. So welcome to Next.js. It's not necessarily a test I would always write, because it's pretty cumbersome to test every text on your page, but just as an illustration here, test h1. So now let's head back to our Cypress docs, Next.js Cypress. So we need to make sure that the server is running, which is it is at the moment. So first we visit the homepage. Then we try to get a text. Let's see. This one seems to be what we want. cy get h1 contains, and now let's see our text, welcome to Next.js. So let's see our testing again, app spec. So this is what we have here, our app spec.js. And it's opening. And it passes. Now let's assume this doesn't work, or we change something. So we change the text, and then our application should break, our test should break. This app that I'm developing for the course is called Prolog. So let's change the link and also this one. Now let's rerun the test here. So you can see Prolog. Now it waits for a bit, checks if it can find it after some time, but it doesn't. And here you can actually see, like, okay, it visits the page, works fine, gets the H1, it highlights here. So it's really nice to debug this test. And then the contains welcome to Next.js is highlighted, so it's actually quite easy to see, yeah, H1 doesn't contain Next.js but Prolog. Now we can change this. Runs again automatically, and bam, it's green. So I don't want to do a whole introduction into testing here, but you can see that this works really nice and should be easy enough to test, to add some tests here. Let me quit Cypress for now. This can also be gone then. And let's create the next commit. So this is all sets up Cypress. Perfect. Now we have Cypress installed. We can close all of these tabs. And Redux, I won't go into Redux now because I think it's optional, depends on your application if you have global state or not. What I would like to do is set up Storybook. This is a pretty nice thing to do for like a lot of applications. If you don't know Storybook, you can basically see it here. It gives you a different environment where you can render your components isolated. And then here it shows that you can control the props and also like click handlers and stuff like this. You can change screen sizes. Yeah, it's a very nice application. So introduction. Let's quickly install it. So it will also create some folders, I guess. Yeah, here it is. So Storybook. Here's some setup. Here you can see that it's looking for stories and then stories MDX or stories JS. Let's see if we need to adjust something here. Yeah, this is not so important. I guess you can adjust the screen here. Default Storybook screen. So do you want to run ESLint plugin fix on your project? I'm not sure. Follow best practice we guys to. Let's see what it does. Okay. So there was some problem, but honestly, I don't really care about that. So it also created already some some test stories. Let's see. Yeah, here we have a stories folder. In an upcoming video, I will refactor this to be a more feature-driven folder structure. Currently, we grouped all our files by file type. So we have pages, which contains the page components. Currently, we don't have a components folder, but that would be the next step to create. Now we have the stories, we have a separate styles folder, and yeah, and here's the Cypress with the test. This typically stays because it's more of a global testing approach. Yeah, but let's see. We can first run Storybook. I guess I tried to install the ESLint plugin here. It didn't work. Don't mind for now. Just to show you how it looks like. So it's also opening inside Chrome, I guess. Okay, let's check. So this is our Storybook, and here you can see the test components, here the stories that it created with different sizes. You can see the props changing here. We can change it here as well manually. So this is really nice for UI testing. Here's a header component. You can change the username, for example. So it will change here, but I don't really want to use these. I will still check if this is a bit complicated one. Let's check the header TSX, header stories, just to have a template here. I will call it app stories and then remove the rest here. So assets is also gone. Now let's see. Pages pages. Homepage. It's called homepage. Let's also rename this to homepage stories. And then this is not typically what you would do. You would rather test like buttons or simple components. But yeah, just as an illustration, we can do it here. So logged in. These are the different states that we have. This doesn't make sense now because we don't have the logged in state on our homepage, but let's remove this. So home. Seems that this doesn't work with style components or the CSS that we used before. Let's actually check if the container is correct. Inspect here, and this is probably the container. And style components seems to work out of the box, so that would be cool. But you can see that the other component, the other styles, for example, this main, I guess, has a class. Here, main has a class name. Doesn't seem to work, so we would have the need to do some additional setup. But for now, I'm happy enough, since we would anyways need to migrate to style components. Okay, I think this is actually enough. Let's call this default and then remove all the rest just to have some. Yeah. I will keep this as a template. Okay, cool. So I think this is enough for the setup. We're kind of through with it. I will create the last commit here and call this sets up Storybook. Okay. Now, just as an illustration, what I would cover in Storybook, I wouldn't create a story for this whole component, but for example, I would create a story for this navigation here. The navigation has different states like collapsed and expanded with different logos and the icons and stuff like this. And this is the mobile view, so it would be really nice to have a like possibility to test it in an isolated state. The footer, yeah, why not? This could also be added to the to Storybook, and then especially UI kit. Like you saw that there was this button component before, and it has a lot of different states, so it's kind of difficult to visually test it inside the application. So it's really nice if you can basically recreate this this design inside Storybook. Yeah, I think this is about it. I hope this was valuable to you. And again, if you want to check out my course, if you're interested in that, I will link this this blog post, and you can also get on the waitlist at profi.dev waitlist. Okay, here's the sign-up form. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and see you the next time.